From out of the blue, the Dallas Cowboys have re-emerged as title contenders. But today, more than 90,000 Los Angeles Ram fans have filled the Coliseum to see if the NFL's stingiest defense can carry the club to its 8th straight win. Los Angeles allowed a scant 135 points during the regular season, and to many opponents, the Ram defense seemed larger than life. Last week against the Cardinals, the Ram hitmen played it tough when they had to, while workhorse fullback Larry McCutcheon carried the ball 37 times for 202 yards, both playoff records. Chuck Knox's only real concern is the quarterback position, no small matter. Last week, second-year pro Ron Jaworski generaled the Ram offense to 3 touchdowns in only his second professional start. But today, Knox will go with James Harris, the man who led the Rams to their 3rd consecutive Western Division crown. On the Cowboys side, 7-year pro Roger Staubach remains firmly entrenched at the helm of the conference's #1 offense. Despite a solid ground game, the Cowboys need an occasional Staubach miracle to win. And more often than not, the magician's assistant is wide receiver Drew Pearson. Last week against the Vikings, Staubach and Pearson engineered their greatest coup. Trailing 14-10 late in the game, Dallas hovered on the brink of defeat and elimination from the playoffs. With the ball at midfield, Staubach reverted to his grade school playbook. In essence, Staubach instructed Pearson to get behind the Viking secondary, and Staubach promised to throw the ball as far as he could. And as a chilled horde of Viking fans watched, Staubach and Pearson weaved their magic. Drew Pearson's seemingly impossible catch on the game's most controversial play proved the margin of victory, as the underdog Cowboys upset the odds makers and the Vikings en route to becoming the first wild card team ever to advance beyond the first round of the playoffs. But today, before a highly partisan sellout crowd in the Los Angeles Coliseum, Dallas will need a miracle of a higher magnitude. The Dallas Cowboys and the Los Angeles Rams in the NFL Game of the Week. At the outset, the swarming Ram defense established its dominance of the scrimmage line, bottling up the Cowboy ground game on Dallas' first 2 possessions. The Rams stopped the Cowboys' conference-leading offense cold, but the acknowledgments may just as well have gone to Dallas, where the fired-up Cowboy defenders ripped and tore at fullback Larry McCutcheon, limiting the All-Pro running back to 0 net yards on his first 3 carries. On the day, Dallas' rugged young defense limited McCutcheon to a scant 10 yards on 11 carries. And early on, they registered the game's first big turnover. D.D. Lewis interception in return carried to the Ram 18. The very next play, Staubach looked the Rams right, then lobbed a screen to Preston Pearson, who followed a convoy to the end zone. The screen pass is an integral part of the Cowboys' multiple offense, and the Rams' hard-charging, reckless pass rush afforded Dallas the opportunity to execute their screen to perfection. The surprisingly tough Cowboy defense handed Staubach good field position, and the Dallas offense wasted little time capitalizing, as the upstart Texans grabbed the early advantage. Although he threw a costly interception, James Harris remained at quarterback, but Chuck Knox's faith in Harris failed to restore the zip to Harris throwing arm as the Ram attack ground to a halt. With his offense standing still, Chuck Knox made a major decision, and soon the entire Coliseum knew a quarterback change was imminent, including the Ram defense, which registered its first big defensive killing. Bill Simpson's 37-yard return was the Rams' first penetration into Dallas territory. Moments later, Ron Jaworski's first pass of the game moved Los Angeles 28 yards closer. Following Jaworski's hookup with Cullen Bryant, the Rams could advance no further. And on fourth down, Tom Dempsey experienced similar frustration. Tom Henderson's supreme individual effort negated Los Angeles' most promising offensive effort. Still, the Rams boast an impressive array of offensive talent. And with Jaworski throwing well, Ron Jesse carried the Rams across midfield for the second time. But passing attacks thrive only so long as protection holds up. And rarely does any lineman consistently contain Harvey Martin. Martin's unexpected intrusion derailed Los Angeles' march. And when Tom Dempsey hooked a 41-yard field goal attempt, the Cowboy defense maintained its shutout. While the Doomsdayers stifled the Ram offense, the Dallas shotgun opened fire against the tiring and increasingly vulnerable Ram secondary. Staubach's 42-yard strike to Golden Richards cut through the Rams' veneer of invincibility. In Ram territory, Staubach turned to Preston Pearson, whose sure hands have added even more diversity to Dallas' multifaceted attack. Facing 3rd and goal on the 4, Staubach looked to the end zone, where Golden Richards had found his own little piece of real estate. Dallas's 76-yard march made the beleaguered Ram defense look all too human. 9 plays, 4 1/2 minutes, and 7 more points. And suddenly the Cowboy offense had taken command of the football game. Possibly the frustrated Ram defenders were puzzled by the Cowboys' numerous offensive sets, but more likely the Rams were just plain beaten. And while the Cowboy offense handled the Rams at the scrimmage line, the Los Angeles attack discovered new ways to beat itself. Harold Jackson's inability to find the handle cost the Rams excellent field position. Later, the Rams' misfortune continued as yet another well-thrown Jaworski bomb arrived on target, but the target wore gloves made of lead. Cowboy defense and Los Angeles' offensive ineptitude conspired to keep the Rams scoreless in the first half. And with Los Angeles offering so little resistance, Roger Staubach once again went to work on the vaunted Ram defense, mixing deep passes with play action and forever keeping the Rams off balance. Drew Pearson's tough 12 yards got Dallas in gear. And as is his custom, Staubach will risk the many dangers outside the pass pocket to keep a Dallas drive moving. From the 15, with a minute to play in the half, Staubach again went to Preston Pearson on a play that iced away a Dallas victory, and a play that will linger on in the memory of all who witnessed its splendid precision. Preston Pearson's phenomenal catch gave Dallas a 21-0 halftime bulge. Pearson's big play contributions and consistent play all season speak well of Dallas's decision to pluck him off the waiver list. The only Cowboy ever to play for another NFL team, Pearson certainly has earned his Royal Blue Star. The prehensile-handed running back accounted for 79 yards and 2 touchdowns in the first half, spurring on the Cinderella Texans to an eye-opening lead in a game that many thought the Cowboys didn't belong in. There were precious few smiles to be seen during halftime as the multitude of Ram partisans sat stunned in the wake of the Cowboys' devastating performance. Surely during the second half, the Rams would awaken from their nightmarish humiliation. But as play resumed, the Dallas Doomsday defense summoned yet greater fury to throttle hopes of a Ram comeback. On their initial series, number 79 defensive end Harvey Martin established the tenor of play with this crushing tackle on Lawrence McCutcheon. Repeating the play clearly shows the killer instinct the Cowboys brought to the second half, as during their first series, the Rams gained but one confidence-destroying yard. Irreversibly, the golden hopes of a Ram championship were being eclipsed by the surging Cowboys. And true to championship form, the Dallas offensive unit, on its very first possession of the second half, struck out to reestablish its point-producing momentum. For the NFL's best overall defense, it was clearly time to show its grit. With 21 Dallas points already on the board, the Ram defense towed in to counter the Cowboys. But their struggle to dim Dallas's bid for stardom proved futile. Roger Staubach got the drive underway with a screen to Preston Pearson. Roger kept the Rams constantly off balance with his will to run, and time and again the 33-year-old quarterback tantalized the Rams defenders. With 25 yards of his own contributed to the drive, Staubach's running threat made this seldom-seen shuffle pass to Preston Pearson work. 19 yards later, number 26 Pearson had his third touchdown of the day as the Cowboys moved 28 points ahead of the shell-shocked Rams. On the following possession, quarterback Ron Jaworski came on to suffer through perhaps the most wrenching series of his career. With 28 points to overcome, the Rams and Jaworski had but one recourse to follow. And so with little threat of the run, the Dallas front four had but one objective, and that was get the quarterback. The first one to the target was number 72, Ed Jones, who brought his 6'9", 260-pound frame crashing into Jaworski. On the next play, Jethro Pugh was the Dallas defender, spinning the Rams signal caller earthward, as yet another Rams series accumulated minus yardage. With a shanked punt quickly compounding their misery, the Rams capitulated 3 more points to Dallas as 3 plays later, Tony Frisch socked home a 30-yard field goal to give the Cowboys an almost unbelievable 31-0 lead. With a mountain of points to overcome, a team that had won 12 games and lost but 2 took the field once more to resurrect a measure of dignity. Immediately, Jaworski found number 24, Willie McGee, for 17 yards. But in keeping with their ill fortune, a holding penalty nullified the gain. On the next play, Doomsday dominated again as number 77, Bill Gregory, bagged himself a quarterback sack. It wasn't Jaworski's last harassment of the series, however, as on the very next play, another Cowboy in the person of number 54, Randy White, assaulted the Rams signal caller and left him senseless at his own 2-yard line. With the defense delivering excellent field position, the Dallas offense was assured of points on the board. And 4 plays later, Tony Frisch drilled a 26-yard field goal to boost the Dallas shutout to 34 points. In the face of the brutal physical pounding and even more crushing emotional exasperation of the game, the Rams' pride did not allow the Cowboys to continue the humiliation without a point on the board. And in the last of the third quarter, Ron Jaworski and his offense doggedly took the field to rid themselves of the ultimate shame of a shutout. Quickly, Jaworski got the Rams moving, this time upfield, with a pass that Terry Nelson wrestled in to begin a touchdown drive. On the following play, the Rams got a tremendous break when Jaworski's pass to number 81, Ron Jesse, was ruled interfered with by Dallas defender number 46, Mark Washington. Suddenly, the Rams were in go position at the Dallas 19-yard line, and the hometown fans finally had something to cheer about. From there, Jaworski executed a fancy bit of play action, then slid a pass to Lawrence McCutcheon, who took it to the Cowboys' 6-yard line. Once in close, Ron Jaworski wanted to keep it simple, so he packed the ball away and hightailed it for the flag. Stopped a foot from the end zone, and with the goal indicator seemingly mocking his effort, Jaworski was at once the symbol of all the Rams' emotions. Nevertheless, Los Angeles avoided the shutout as on the next play, John Cappelletti burst through the Cowboy ramparts to finally put the Rams on the board 34-7. Despite their insurmountable lead, the Cowboys' offense never reined its surging pace as Staubach and Preston Pearson teamed up for 27 yards in the fourth quarter. Soon afterward, Roger was adding aerial yardage to his brilliant 4-touchdown passing day with a frozen rope shot to Drew Pearson. From the Rams' 9-yard line, Rogers' on-the-money pass to number 81, Percy Howard, was deflected at the last moment, and the Cowboys had to settle for a third Tony Frisch field goal to make the final score 37-7. The final quarter was particularly embarrassing for the Rams as the tyranny of Cowboy dominance allowed but 4 Los Angeles possessions, the last of which resulted in interception number 2 for Cowboy linebacker number 50, TD Lewis. For the Rams head coach Chuck Knox, it marked his second bitter affair with championship play. While for the joyous Dallas Cowboys, it meant the championship of the National Football Conference and a date with the Pittsburgh Steelers in Super Bowl X. After 16 brutal weeks of elimination, the Cowboys had come from rebuilding to contention to wild card team to Super Bowl participants. And after their thorough destruction of a powerful Ram team, none can question their rightful position to compete for the championship of the world.